Right. I'm now going to take you to the charge room, where I'm going to charge you with stealing half a bottle of gin, value 26 shillings, from the supermarket. I must warn you that anything you say will be taken down. Use it ends. Come along, lad.
Yes?
I'm from the Ministry of Social Security, miss. There seems to be something of a muddle regarding your national insurance. I've been sent round to try to sort it out.
Oh, well, you better come in then.
Could you ask them to come a bit closer, please?
Will each of you in turn step forward? Come to the foot of the bed, please.
Wait a minute. Could he come a bit closer, please? Could you ask him to speak, please?
What would you like him to say?
Say, I'm from the Ministry of Social Security.
I'm from the Ministry of Social Security.
Again, please.
I'm from the Ministry of Social Security.
That's him. I'm certain. This one, number 5.
Will you get back into line, please?
Yes, I'm absolutely positive. That's him, all right.
You know what they'll say?
Who?
The defense.
What will they say?
That you induced her. You knew what the suspect looked like and induced the girl to remember him.
But I didn't know what he looked like. I hadn't the faintest idea.
Oh, they'll still say it.
Anyway, I still don't think he'd be tried. Not with this other man actually in custody.
Now, Ingram is only being charged with one assault against one girl. As far as I can see, the circumstantial evidence against him is quite strong enough for that.
Yes, but what about your evidence? I mean, you've examined the other man. What's his name? Burnham. Well, he could have attacked Vivien, couldn't he?
He could, but I haven't been able to find any proof that he did. Burnham has admitted to committing the murders, but he flatly denies ever having assaulted Vivien, says he can't stand redheads.
Yes, but darling, is it really credible that in a town of this size there could be 2 men going around raping and murdering girls?
I'm afraid so. Carbon copy crimes are not all that rare. And the Boston stranglings, some of the murders were committed by somebody going around and imitating murders that he'd read about. It's as good a way as any of shifting the blame onto somebody else.
Well, Vivien's made up her mind. She's quite certain.
Yes. I'll tell you one thing. I wouldn't like to have to be prosecuting.
Members of the jury, what the Crown is going to prove is that Martin Ingram, on the 19th of December last year, talked his way into the flat of 26-year-old Vivien Bradstreet and there assaulted her by hitting her over the head with a flower vase, and then dragged her unconscious body into the bedroom and further assaulted her in ways that will be described to you later. I have to say to you that that poor girl, Vivien Bradstreet, is still in hospital, unable to move. And when you hear her evidence, you will have to go, we shall all have to go, to the hospital to hear her evidence and to hear her identify her attacker. The witnesses that I shall call to prove this case will tell you that this man followed Vivien to her home. They will come here and identify the man that followed her, and they will tell you that Martin Ingram is that man.
I don't think you should talk about it, dear. It's not going to do you any good.
What the hell else is there for me to talk about, Mother, lying here?
There's no need for you to swear, Vivien.
Sorry. What would you like me to talk about? The weather? I mean, bang, your life comes to an end, and then let's talk about the weather.
Not to brood. That's why. They say you're not to brood.
I'm not brooding. I just don't have very much else to think about.
Please, dear.
You know, she came to see me the other day.
Who?
His mother. Bought some flowers. Same as yours, actually.
What did you do with them?
I tore them apart, petal by petal, and dropped them in the wastepaper basket. Nurse was quite upset. I said it was symbolic, what he'd done to me.
I think it was most irregular of her to come to see you.
Nonsense. She wrote, asked if she could come. I said yes.
Trying to influence you, that's what.
She said, would I search my heart before I went into the witness box and took an oath that it was her son? Would I be absolutely sure before I did that? Well, I explained I wouldn't actually go into a witness box. To do that, you've got to be able to stand up. And standing up was one of the little luxuries Herr Martin had deprived me of for the rest of my life. Then I told her how.
That time we're merely following a general line of inquiry. He was one of more than 40 people we interviewed that night. At that time, I had no particular reason to suspect him.
Did you find anything in his room that caused you to change your mind?
Yes, I found garments which had clearly been recently washed. I also found clothes of the kind that fitted the description we had then obtained.
Did you question him at all?
Yes, I asked him if he was asleep when we arrived. He replied in the affirmative. I observed a cigarette burning in the ashtray. He said he lit it when he got up to answer the bell. I then got his permission to make a telephone call to my superior officer. After I completed the call, I asked him to come to the station to help us with some inquiries we were making.
Thank you very much.
Was there anything else in the room that caused you to suspect the defendant?
Not suspected, no.
This room, can you describe it further? Pictures, decorations, that sort of thing.
There was a big board against one wall, covered with postcards and photographs.
Did you then, or at any time, remove or authorize to be removed any of those postcards or photographs?
Yes.
Will you look at Exhibit 31, please? Will you tell the jury if those are the photographs you removed?
Yes, I identify these as being the pictures I took from Ingram's rooms.
Would you say there was one
The
thing...
jury had better see them, Miss Bernardi.
Yes, my lord. Would you say there was one thing characteristic of each of these pictures? Something that you would pick out as common to them all?
I would say there's a depiction of a naked man in all of them.
Were these the only pictures on the board?
No.
Do you remember how many pictures there are in this exhibit? Exhibit 31, I mean.
About 10.
Yes, 9, actually. And how many pictures in all?
About 70.
Why did you select those 9?
They seem to me to be indicative of a certain kind of person.
Because they depicted naked men.
Yes.
Do you think it indicative of a certain kind of person that he has 9 pictures among 70 that happen to have naked men in them?
Yes, I do.
You wouldn't agree it was indicative of a highly suspicious police attitude that you selected those 9 and not any of the others?
No. There were other things.
What other things made you think that Martin Ingram was a certain kind of person?
I found an envelope with photographs of young men in bathing costumes. I found it hidden in his sock drawer.
And so for that reason, you were already suspicious of this young man, weren't you?
To some extent, yes.
Thank you very much.
No further questions? Detective Chief Superintendent Mowbray, please.
Who's confessed?
Another man. You'll have to attend another parade, I'm afraid, to see if you recognize him.
Only one man attacked me, Martin Ingram. Nobody else, just Ingram.
Still.
Why not? Something to do. Have you ever been laid up for 4.5 months, Sergeant? It gets pretty bloody boring.
Well, it's a nice rest. Think of it that way. It's not so bad.
Rest? You must be joking.
Yes, I thought you'd like to know anyway.
He killed all his, did he?
Yes.
You know something? I wish he'd been the one. I mean him, not Ingram. He finished them off. If it had been him, I wouldn't be here like this now.
If you're worse off, you'd be dead.
Thank you very much.
Detective Chief Superintendent, yes. I saw she had red hair, that's about all. What did he mean?
I'm sure you didn't really mean to ask that question, Miss Bernardi, did you?
No, my lord. You saw the girl in the line-up at the hospital first thing this morning. Did you see that girl in the shop? What was Ingram's reply?
I saw she had red hair. That's about all.
Do you think that answer is very clear?
Perfectly clear.
Do you think it means that the girl in the shop had red hair?
Yes.
Is that what you understood it to mean?
Oh, yes.
Could it mean that the girl in the line-up had red hair?
Yes, like the girl in the shop.
The words, I saw she had red hair, that's about all, don't actually answer the question you asked, do they?
Oh, yes.
Did you see the girl in the shop? That's what you asked. I saw she had red hair. That's no answer.
Well, I took it to mean...
Don't tell me. I don't want to know. But do you agree there might be different interpretations put on that answer by different people?
I suppose so.
Very well. Now, looking back at this statement, there's a point at which he says, it couldn't be me. I don't like girls. I'm a homosexual.
Yes.
Can you tell me whether you were specifically looking for a homosexual?
How do you mean?
That night when you sent Detective Chief Inspector Fleming out looking for scooters, were you looking for a homosexual?
No, not especially. We were on the lookout for someone sexually abnormal.
Why?
Well, he'd have to be, wouldn't he, the way he'd attacked all those girls. It couldn't be the act of a normal man, not possibly.
All which girls?
The Vivien Bradstreet.
Just a moment. Oh, go on, Miss Bernardi, go on.
All which girls?
Well, there had been others.
You were looking for someone who was responsible for all the attacks, were you?
At that time, yes.
The attack on Vivien Bradstreet and the other attacks on the other girls?
At that time, yes.
Was there another attack on another girl shortly after Ingram was taken into custody?
Not long after, yes, there was.
Wait. Yes?
Was that when you first started to find differences between the attack on Vivien and the other attacks?
Oh, no. I already knew there were differences.
Thank you very much.
Would you please tell us about these other attacks?
Yes, since November of last year, apart from this case, there have been 6 other attacks on girls in this neighborhood, all of which have resulted in the death of the girl.
Can you tell me if there's been any arrest in connection with these 6 crimes?
A man has been charged, yes.
Were there any similarities between this assault and these other attacks?
There were similarities.
What
yes.
kind of similarities?
Well, the pattern was fairly precisely repeated.
Fairly precisely?
Yes. It's the sort of repetition one expects in a carbon copy crime. A well-publicized wave of attacks like this, and then someone goes off and commits a copy crime. It's not uncommon.
Were there any differences at all, then?
Yes. One particularly.
Perhaps you'd care to mention that one.
Vivien Bradstreet is alive. All the others are not.
Thank you very much. Howard Anacell Cooper, please. This young man you saw watching her, do you now see him in court?
Yes.
Would you point him out, please?
Him, in the dock.
Thank you.
How many customers do you have in your store on an average day?
It's hard to say. Anything from 300 or 400, that's a bad day, say, to a couple of thousand.
Will you look at the public gallery, please, Mr. Cooper, and tell me if you see anyone there that you recognize?
No, not especially.
My lord, may I ask certain members of the public there present to get up to their feet?
Please?
Mr. Christopher Minton, Mr. Stanley Wood, Mr. John Spencer. Will you please rise? Now, will you look at these 3 young men, Mr. Cooper, and tell me if you've ever seen any of them before? Well?
I don't know. I could have.
You don't know. Now look at the defendant. And now look at the 3 young men. Do they look at all alike, these 4 young men?
Well, yes, they do, but not so you would ever muddle them up.
No? Thank you. Sit down again now. Now, Mr. Cooper, how long did you watch the defendant on that day that you are so positive you saw him?
How long? I don't know. Long enough?
10 seconds, 20 seconds, 2 minutes?
I don't know, about 30 seconds.
About the length of time that those 3 young men were on their feet just now?
Yes.
Now, the lighting in the supermarket, is it worse than the light in the court, or this better, or the same?
About the same, maybe a little better.
Will Mr. Minton please stand up again? Now, will you please tell me, have you ever seen this young man in your life before?
You mean before just now?
Have you ever seen him anywhere, at any time before?
Well, I saw him when he stood up just now, but not before that.
Will Mr. Christopher Minton also please stand up in court? Now, Mr. Cooper, which of these 2 boys did you see before?
Well, him.
Well, just now you said him.
Yes, well, they do look alike, you must admit.
But you can see that they are different now, can you?
Well, yes, I can see now. I can compare.
Thank you. Sit down again. Now, will you look at the defendant again and tell me, please, if you can really swear that you saw him in your shop on the 19th of December of last year, saw him beyond any shadow of doubt, and saw him standing staring at Vivien Bradstreet?
No. No, I can't swear that beyond any shadow of doubt.
Thank you very much.
No questions. Mrs. Mary Elizabeth Windsor.
I think, Mr. Baker, this would be the moment to adjourn for luncheon.
If I don't feel like eating, why do you all have to bully me?
You've got to keep your strength up.
What the hell for?
If nothing else, so that you'll be able to give evidence when they come up here tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Well, that's what I've heard. Now try to eat something.
Look, I don't need to keep my strength up for that. If I were bloody dying, I'd have enough strength for that.
Joe!
Quiet. No. I will have quiet. I have to tell you something, members of the jury, because I do not want you to hear it from any other source. I do not want you to hear rumors. The defendant has tried to hang himself during the luncheon adjournment. I must explain that no blame attaches to the police or to anyone set to watch over him. It is neither possible nor fair to a defendant to watch him all the time. Like anybody else, possibly more than most of us, he needs the privacy which we're all entitled to. However, no defendant is ever left unwatched for very long, and an officer has saved him from his action. But what I have to say to you is this, and I want you to pay the greatest possible attention. The strain on a man, on a young man, accused of a very serious offense, is quite beyond anything most of us have to endure. You must realize that this young man, Martin Ingram, has had to sit here helplessly listening to people saying things about him which do not seem to him to have anything to do with anybody else in the world, and are certainly not the kind of things that he ever expected or wanted to be said in a court of law. His most private thoughts and actions are exposed to the scrutiny of the world here in this court. It is not indicative of either remorse or guilt that such a young man feels despair sufficiently great for him to want to end a life that here and now he doesn't want to go on with anymore. And it is my duty to instruct you firmly not to take this action of his as anything that has the slightest bearing on this case. The defendant is under a very great strain, and in a moment of terrible despair he has done something stupid, but no more than stupid. Now I want you to forget that he did it. Put it out of your mind. Or, if that is impossible, try to sympathize with him and understand the nature of his actions. Life to all of us seems pretty grim at one time or another. Think what it must seem to Martin Ingram at this time. Now, I understand that he is now quite recovered, so put him up and let's get on. Now, Mr. Ingram, I understand you're feeling all right again. Is that really so?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Everybody understands the strain that you're feeling. I don't want you to worry any more than you need to. In fact, I'm quite prepared to hear an application from your counsel for a further brief adjournment.
No, thank you, sir. I'm very sorry. If you could just get on with it. Get it over.
Very well. Mr. Baker?
Mrs. Mary Elizabeth Windsor Clark, please. Do you now see him in court?
Yes. That's him there.
What was the light like?
Well, I had the light in my hall. It was shining direct on his face.
Did he say anything?
He said, "Does Jimmy Porter live here?"
Did you reply?
I said, "No, he doesn't."
Anything else?
Then he said, "Was I sure?" I said, "Of course I was sure."
And then what happened?
Then I saw Vivien.
Saw her? Saw her where?
Going up the stairs.
Yes.
Well, she looked down. She was on the stairs and she glanced down.
Could she or could she not see you?
Oh, of course she could.
What happened then?
Then he said he was sorry he'd troubled me and turned round.
Did he look up or anything?
I didn't notice.
What happened then?
Well, then I was a bit suspicious, so I didn't close the door. Not straight away. He went to the bottom of the stairs and paused. He hesitated as though he was about to...
No, Mrs. Clark, that is not evidence.
Well, I was going to say...
What you thought he was going to do is not evidence, and I cannot allow it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He hesitated. What happened then?
I shut the door.
Did you see him again at any time?
No.
Thank you very much.
Did you make a statement to the police on the 20th of December, 1968?
Well, that was the day after, yes.
Did you give evidence in the magistrate's court during the preliminary hearings in this case?
Yes.
Were you asked to describe the man you'd seen outside your door on the 19th of December?
Yes.
Do you remember your reply?
Oh, yes, I remember. I said he was tall, 6 foot at least, dark, with brown or black hair. Long hair, quite long, but not like one of those hippies. Blue eyes, slim, good-looking, wearing a top coat and corduroy trousers.
Will you look at this document, please? And tell us what it is.
Well, this is a statement I made to the police.
When did you make the statement?
December the 20th.
Will you find the part of the statement in which you described the man you saw?
Yes, I've got that.
Will you read that description, please?
He was youngish, about 25 or 26, quite tall, 6 foot at least, thin. He was dark, not dusky, but with quite a high complexion, dark hair, brown eyes.
When did you decide that his eyes were blue, Mrs. Clark?
I don't remember.
Did anyone say anything to make you change your mind?
No.
Why did you change your mind?
Well, I don't know, I just did.
Something you read, perhaps?
No, I don't think so.
Are you certain that the defendant is the man you saw outside your flat?
Yes.
And you looked into his eyes?
Yes.
And got it wrong?
But apart from making a mistake about the colour of his eyes, you stick by the rest of your statement made on December the 20th.
Oh, yes, I do.
Thank you very much. If your lordship pleases, the next witness I should like to call is the complainant, Vivien Bradstreet.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence that I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I'd like you to tell me if at any time I'm going too fast for you, or if you'd like to rest, if you feel you can't go on.
I feel all right, thank you.
Good. Now, will you please tell the jury your name?
Vivien Bradstreet. I'm 26 years old, and I used to live at flat 6, Handel Court, Warwick. Now I live here.
Thank you very much. Do you remember what happened to you on December the 19th of last year?
Yes, I do.
Now, do you remember this of yourself, your own memory? Not anything anyone has ever told you?
I remember it of myself. Nobody told me. Nobody could have told me. They didn't know.
Will you please tell the court what happened?
A man came to my flat and attacked me.
Do you remember the man who attacked you?
Oh, yes. I'll never forget him.
Do you now see in this room the man who attacked you?
Yes, I do.
Will you point him out, please?
There. Seated there between the warders. Him.
Thank you very much.
Vivien, That afternoon, when did you get home?
About 5:15.
Was it dark yet?
It was getting dark. It was dark inside. I had the light on in the hall.
Yes, I'm sure. I don't want you to think I'm hostile to you, my dear, in any way. I'm not. Just as much as you do, I want to get to the truth of this terrible business. You do believe me, don't you?
Yes.
All right. Now, where had you been that afternoon?
I've been to see my doctor. Then I went to the chemist to get the prescription. Then I went to the supermarket, the Oak supermarket, to do my shopping. Then I caught a bus and went home.
When you got home, what did you do?
I got undressed to have a bath.
At 5:15?
Yes. I wanted to go to bed early. I'd had flu. That's why I'd been to the doctor's. I wanted to go to bed early.
You got undressed to have a bath, and then what happened?
The phone rang. I answered it. It was a friend. I went to turn off the bath so that we could chat for a bit. Then the front doorbell rang. I asked her to hang on, and I went to the door.
You went to the door and left the phone how?
Off the hook. I didn't think I'd be long.
Did you open the door?
Yes.
Go on.
There was a man standing outside. He said something about my national insurance being in a bit of a muddle, and he asked me if he could come...
Do you remember his exact words?
No. I mean, more or less, but not the exact words, not word for word.
All right. What did he ask?
Could he come in? I said yes. I said it was in a muddle. Then he came in. I said I thought I might have seen him somewhere before. He said something like, I might have. Then I turned round to lead him into the sitting room. And he hit me.
How do you mean hit you?
Well, somebody hit me. I mean, for God's sake, who else could have hit me?
No, what I mean is what actually happened.
He hit me.
You had your back to him at the time.
Yes.
Go on, what happened next?
I was on the floor in the bedroom. I had a terrible headache. He was standing over me.
It's quite clear to you who was standing over you.
Yes, of course it was. Who else could it be?
No, Vivien, that's not what I'm asking. When you were lying on the floor, looking up, what could you see?
A man standing over me.
Could you see his face?
Yes.
Are you sure?
He was standing over me, like, close to.
Where was the light? Table lamp? Overhead light? Where?
Ceiling light.
And the light was what? Behind him? In front of him? Where?
Above.
So you could see his face? Vivien, could you see his face?
Look, I'm trying to tell the truth. For God's sake, I am trying to tell the truth.
Yes, of course you are. Do you think you could see his face?
I think so.
All right. What happened next?
He said not to struggle. He said, don't struggle, and I won't hurt you.
How did he say that? Loud, soft, how?
He whispered.
Go on.
I tried to scream, and he put his hand over my mouth. I tried to hit him, but he held my wrist. I could feel his fingers holding my wrist. I thought, my God, it's him. And I could feel his fingers holding my wrist. And I remembered Sue, the girl who telephoned. She was hanging on. I tried to get to the phone. I'd left it on the bed and I was lying on the floor. I tried to get to the bed. He had his hand over my mouth and he was holding my wrist. Then he put the phone back. He hit me on the mouth. I could hear the bath. I thought, that's funny. Maybe he's going to do it in the bath. Then I could feel something in my mouth, a hanky something, like a gag. He took his coat off. He had a suede jacket on. I was dazed. I tried to move. Then I remember he hit me again. Do you want it all? I'll tell you if you want.
No. No, thank you. Just one thing. You were conscious, were you?
Well, of course I was conscious.
So you could see him quite distinctly?
Yes.
Now, Will you tell us about the identification parade on the 20th of December last year? Will you tell me if you remember that parade?
Yes, I do.
Did you identify anyone at that parade?
No, I didn't.
Did you subsequently attend another parade?
Yes.
Why was that?
I got my memory back.
When did that happen?
Gradually, over the next couple of weeks.
During those weeks, did you see any police officers at any time?
Any? I saw dozens.
About the case?
Yes.
Did they say they'd arrested anyone?
Yes.
Did they say who?
Like, mention his name?
Did they say whom they had arrested?
They said a student. They didn't say his name.
Are you aware that you've been subjected to treatment known as hypnotherapy?
Oh, hypnotism. Oh, yes. Yes, yes, they told me.
Well, it's actually called hypnosis. They get a little sensitive about that. Did you know this was happening to you at the time?
Yes.
Who hypnotized you?
My doctor, Joe Hardy.
How many times did she hypnotize you?
Once.
You know that?
Yes. I think so.
When did she hypnotize you?
December the 21st.
That is after the first identification parade and before the second?
Yes.
And at the second parade, you were able to identify somebody?
Yes. Him.
With certainty?
Oh, yes. I knew then.
Absolute certainty, not a doubt in your mind?
Absolute certainty, not a doubt in my mind, yes.
As though it had happened yesterday?
Yes.
When was the second parade?
January. Sometime in January.
January the 18th?
Yes, 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 very probably. Yes. Yes, that's the date.
And the date you were attacked was the 19th of December, wasn't it?
Yes.
And on the 18th of January, you could attend an identification parade and recognize what your attacker looked like as though it had happened yesterday. Is that right?
Yes.
And in between those 2 dates, you'd been hypnotized.
One
is that
moment,
right?
Miss
Yes.
Bernardi. The point you are arguing is that Miss Bradstreet was only able to identify the defendant after hypnosis. Is that
Yes,
right?
my lord.
Thank you.
And yet you can still say at your second identification parade that you remembered you yourself.
Do you think I'm lying? Is that it? Lying or stupid or something? Because I'm here, like in bed here. I can't move. You know that's why I'm here. I can't move. That doesn't mean I'm decrepit or stupid or daft. I'm not. And that's what you think, isn't it? You think she's stupid. She must be lying there. She doesn't know what she's saying. Well, you're wrong. I do know. I do remember. I know what a trial means. Like an oath. I swear by Almighty God that the evidence...
All right, Vivien.
I know all that. I've had plenty of time to think that out. The truth and that. Seems as if it were yesterday. You remember as if it were yesterday. Because today is the same. It's all the same. It is yesterday. It is.
I think we'd better adjourn.
No. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
Doctor?
Just for half an hour. A break for half an hour.
No, for God's sake, let's get it over with. Just get on with it.
Very well. Miss Bernard.
Can I say something?
No, you cannot. But nothing. You will not say one word more at this time, or we'll have to go through this all over again somewhere else. Miss Bernard.
I have only one more question. Are you certain that the man you saw standing over you in that room is the same man that you identified in this room a few minutes ago?
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much.
My lord, that concludes the case for the prosecution.
Thank you, Mr. Bacon. Miss Bradstreet, thank you. I shall now adjourn until tomorrow morning at 10:30 in court, when we shall hear the evidence for the defense.
Dr. Hardy, would you explain to the jury what the theory of interchange is?
In this context, the theory of interchange means that anyone coming into a room would almost certainly bring with him something that was not in that room before, and would take away with him something that he did not have when he went into the room.
What kind of thing?
Oh, dust, cloth, fibers, hairs, his own or someone else's, animal hairs, sweat.
Have you found any indications of these identifiable foreign presence in Vivien's room?
Identifiable? In my opinion, no.
What do you mean by that?
Well, these indications, as you describe them, are very minute. They are hard to find, let alone to identify, unless, of course, you know what you're looking for. If, for instance, you knew that you were looking for blonde hairs in the room of a dark-haired girl, then it would be easier to find them than if you were looking, say, for any hairs.
Have you found interchange, evidence of a foreign presence in the rooms of the other victims?
I have.
Can you tell us what you found?
Yes, I found some mud, and I found some cloth fibers.
And dead bodies?
Yes.
This mud, these fibers, do they seem in any way similar?
Possibly.
Do they seem strikingly dissimilar?
I cannot state that with certainty either.
They could have been left by the same person.
It is possible.
You have said that the assaults on these girls are all strikingly similar.
I have said that, yes.
In each case, the same attack from behind with an object picked up in the flat, the same placing of the victim's clothes neatly folded to one side, the same type of sexual assault.
I have said that, yes.
Now, will you say once more, was the attack on Vivien Bradstreet so similar to the other attacks that you were able to come to any conclusion as to the identity of the attacker?
It was sufficiently similar for me to form an opinion, yes.
And nothing of this theory of interchange that you have or have not been able to find has caused you to modify that opinion?
No.
Would you care to tell us what opinion you have formed?
It seemed to me that in absence of evidence to the contrary, that the similarity between the attack on Vivien Bradstreet and the other attacks, including the one made while the defendant was in custody, were sufficiently big for me to form the opinion that they were probably made by the same person.
Even though Vivien was alive and the other victims were dead?
Yes.
One last question. What color is Vivien's hair?
Red.
What color is the defendant's hair?
Dark brown.
Natural or dyed?
Natural dark brown.
You've already given evidence to say that you found indications that she had struggled with her assailant. Did you find any dark brown hairs on or about Vivien Bradstreet's body or clothing?
I did not.
Did you find any red hairs on or about Martin Ingram's body or clothing?
I did not.
Did you find any red hairs in Martin Ingram's rooms?
I did not.
Thank you very much.
This theory of interchange, Doctor, is it infallible?
No theory is infallible.
When you do find anything, are you ever able to prove anything by it?
It depends, of course, upon what I find. But I do usually expect to be able to identify any foreign object.
Was that possible on this occasion?
No. The little I found merely indicated that someone had been in the room.
Could you tell us what you did find?
Yes, I found some traces of mud, and I found some strands of wool fiber. I found one hair that definitely did not belong to the defendant, and some dust that might have been introduced by the police or the ambulance men.
Are you prepared to state that that proves definitely that the accused was not present in the room?
No. The proof is inconclusive, that is all that I can say.
And the theory of interchange, on this occasion at least, might be said to be wrong.
Not necessarily. It might be said that I was wrong.
Thank you, Doctor.
Are you often wrong, Dr. Hardy?
Not often, no.
And I should like to call Dr. Josephine Hardy. Now, we've already heard of your fairly extensive experience in these matters. Does it often happen that a patient cannot remember certain things under hypnosis?
No, but it does happen.
Can you explain how that is?
Well, memory is very selective, you know. And it sometimes happens that the mind rejects certain memories so completely that even under hypnosis it becomes difficult or impossible for the patient to recall anything.
These rejected memories, what kind of things do they concern?
Pretty traumatic events, the kind of thing that the mind would rather not remember.
Things that the conscious mind is going to welcome or not?
Oh, definitely not. The kind of thing that the conscious mind totally rejects.
Then the kind of memory that is suppressed under hypnosis, is that the kind of memory that would spring easily to a patient's mind when he is no longer hypnotized?
Definitely not.
Have you ever known a patient to remember, when fully conscious, something that he did not remember under hypnosis?
I've never known that to happen except on this occasion.
Now, during your treatment of Vivien Bradstreet, did you at any time ask her to describe her assailant to you?
Yes.
Can you tell us what she said?
She experienced great difficulty in remembering.
How great a difficulty?
She never actually described anyone.
Now, I believe you were in attendance on Vivien at the identification parade on the day after she was attacked.
Yes, I was.
Did you see what happened?
Yes. I wheeled her along a line of men. She didn't identify anybody in the line. She then became slightly hysterical and was taken out again.
She did not identify anybody?
She didn't identify anybody.
Did you see all the men in that parade?
Yes.
Do you see any of them in court now?
Yes. The prisoner was there. I wouldn't know about anyone else.
Had you any idea which of the men in the lineup was the suspect?
No.
No idea at all? In spite of the fact that your husband was involved in the case?
I had no idea at all.
Do you and your husband ever discuss your work together?
Yes, of course we do.
But not this case?
Oh, yes, and this case.
When did you discuss it?
Oh, we've been talking about it the night before.
The night before the first identity parade?
Yes, my lord.
Yes, go on, Miss Bernardi.
How many times after the first occasion did you treat Vivien with hypnosis?
Just the once. I mean, not again, not after the first time.
Were you at the second parade as well as at the first?
Yes.
Do you remember the men at both parades?
Not very clearly. The first time I was watching the patient, and the second time was a good month later.
But Martin Ingram was at both parades?
Yes.
You're sure of that? I mean, you yourself in your own mind can look back and remember him being in both parades?
I believe so, yes.
Can you describe any of the other men in the first parade?
No, not possibly. I only saw them for a very short term.
Can you describe the other men in the second parade?
No.
They were the same men, though. You're quite sure of that?
I'm afraid I don't know.
Oh, dear. It's quite important, isn't it? Will you please try to remember?
I honestly don't know. I have no idea.
Never mind. Just one last question. Vivien was suffering from amnesia. When would that amnesia come to an end? I mean, at what point would her memory come back?
Oh, when she woke up in the hospital.
And would she be able to remember everything that happened to her once she'd woken up?
Oh, yes. Once she'd woken up, her memory would be perfectly all right again.
Thank you very much.
Would it have been possible for you to suggest to Vivien Bradstreet any memory of what happened that she could not recall of herself?
I should say it would be quite impossible. Her mind simply wouldn't accept the memory unless it fitted perfectly. She wouldn't believe me.
Did you at any point try to induce such a memory?
No.
So that Vivien Bradstreet's subsequent recovery of her memory could not have been induced by anything that you said to her?
In my opinion, absolutely not.
Thank you.
I should like to call Martin Ingram, please.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
State your name and address, please.
Martin Benedict Ingram, 13 Muddy Road, Warwick.
How old are you?
26.
Did you or did you not, on December the 19th, 1968, attack Vivien Bradstreet?
I did not.
Were you in the Oak supermarket on that day?
Yes, I was.
What did you do there?
I stole half a bottle of gin. I also bought some sausages and some peas for my supper.
Did you see any girl subsequently identified to you as Vivien Bradstreet in that store at that time?
I did not.
Did you follow her home?
No.
Where did you go when you left the supermarket?
I went to Handel Court.
Why did you go there?
I had an appointment with a friend of mine called James Woodfield. I wanted to see him.
Where does Woodfield live?
Flat 15 Handel Court, which is the ground floor flat of the third staircase of that block.
Where did you actually go?
I made a mistake and went to flat number 2, which is the ground floor flat of the next block.
Did you see anyone there?
Yes.
Was that person later identified to you?
Yes, I learned that she was called Mrs. Clark.
Did you speak to her?
I asked her if someone called Jimmy Porter lived there. She said no. I realized I'd got the wrong flat. I said thanks very much and went. I went straight home.
You didn't try to find the right flat?
No, I panicked and went straight home.
Did you see anyone you recognized on the way home?
No.
Have you ever been to bed with a girl?
No.
Do you want to?
No.
Have you ever wanted to?
No.
Did you attack Vivien Bradstreet?
No.
When did you first see her?
In the hospital. At the identity parade in the hospital.
Which parade?
The first parade.
Did you see the other men in that parade?
Yes, I did.
Was there subsequently another parade in the hospital?
There was.
Did you see the other men in that parade?
Yes, I did.
Did you recognize any of them?
I'd never seen any of them before in my life.
Were any of the men in the second parade known to you in any way?
They were not.
Was there or was there not anybody in the second parade that had also been in the first parade?
Only me.
So you were at both parades and Miss Bradstreet attended both parades?
Yes, but I was the only person in both parades.
And for the last time, did you or did you not attack Miss Bradstreet on December the 19th of last year?
I did not.
Did you feel anything then, Vivien?
No. What did you do?
Try again. Then? Then?
No. I'm never going to walk again, am I?
Of course you are. It'll take a little time. It's always a good sign, that, when they look at you.
Not guilty? Well, of course he's guilty.
Oh, don't worry, love. They found another man.
Who are they to say not guilty? I saw him. I mean, it's me he did it to. Me.
Well, what do you think? Did he do it?
I don't know.
Come on, darling, you're not in court now.
No, I really don't know. Of course, the verdict was right. The jury couldn't possibly find him guilty on that.
But Vivien did identify him. I mean, I'm certain I could never remember him among all those men a whole month later. Almost certain.
Yes, but she was staring at them all the time, staring at each one. You were barely looking at them. Now, it's quite possible that she might have remembered Ingram from the first parade.
And it's also quite possible that she might have remembered everything perfectly. And if she did, then he's got off because of a technicality.
No, because of a doubt. A very genuine doubt. Now, let's you look at it from the jury's point of view. Is it likely that there would be two men going about committing the same sort of assault? It is possible. It is equally possible that only one man did it, Burnham. Now, is it likely that I would have been unable to find any proof of Ingram's presence in that room? It is not only possible, it is a fact. Is it likely that she may have identified Ingram for the wrong reason? It is possible. Oh, no, they couldn't possibly convict him.
But you, darling, what do you think?
Well, I think that Burnham committed the murders. The assault on Vivien. Well, I'd like to think that if Ingram had been there, I'd have known, I'd have found some proof. And I didn't, and so I came to the right conclusion that he was never there at all. But I think I could have been wrong.
I don't think you should. I want to see him. Send him in, please.
It won't do any good.
Look, if he's come and he wants to see me, right, I want to see him. You can wait outside the door if you're worried. What off, did you?
I brought you some flowers.
You know what you can do with them.
Please.
You know what? I was watching you. When I was giving evidence, I was watching you. I saw you sweating. I knew you all right. Well, I haven't got off, have I? I'm going to lie here for the rest of my life whilst you walk free. Walk! Well, I hope people recognize you. I hope they look at you and say, that's him. I hope they spit at you and throw stones at you. And I hope you can't stand it knowing. I hope you kill yourself.
Please.
Is that all you can say? Please, please, please what? Please will you forgive me? Oh, is that it? You ruined my life for me, then you get off scot-free and you come here to say you're sorry. Is that it then?
You've come to say you're sorry.